Hey everyone, welcome back to the Multidimensional Journey podcast and YouTube channel. This is your host, Ayahuasca Carr, and I'm really excited to talk about today's topic, which we're getting into breathwork journeys. We're going to go over the what, the why, the how of breathwork journeys and all that jazz. So, thank you so much for returning back to the podcast and the channel. If you like this podcast, please be sure to give it a review. And if you like this YouTube video or this channel, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you can get up-to-date notifications of when I drop new videos and podcasts. So, let's just get into it. Yeah, I feel like it's appropriate to start off with a nice cleansing breath. And so today we're going to be focusing on breathwork journey. So breathwork is a term that is across all across industries right now, all Western industries. Of course, it's this ancient practice, right? That Westerners have taken a while to catch up on and realize like, hey, yeah, this natural thing that's occurring inside of me has untapped potential for multiple different things and reasons, health benefits, mental health, wellness, transpersonal experiences, which is mainly what we're going to be focusing on today is the transpersonal part, which I'm really excited about. But breath work is it can be very functional. So you can have like a slow, deep breath. You can have energizing breath work where you breathe faster for shorter periods of time. You have your Wim Hofs, you have your Kundalinis, you have your yoga, pranayama, all sorts of breath work, right? So we hear this term so much. So what we're really focusing on today is these transpersonal breathwork journey types of experiences. And mainly the framework and the model that we're going to be focusing on is the one that comes from the legendary, just like so excited, is Dr. Stan Grof's work. So if you don't know who Dr. Stan Grof is, like just do a quick Google search and you'll see tons of incredible books by him, an absolute visionary of our time. And so I think this is good for like a quick history lesson. First of all, I'll leave the link below for his book called Holotropic Breathwork. Because I think sometimes when people hear about any type of breathwork, but essentially the online breathwork journeys that I talk about, they hear the word breathwork and they really focus on like what type of breathwork are we doing? What's the technique? How do I breathe? When really what Stan Grof's work deeply focused on, holotropic breathwork, was an entire school of thought in the world of psychology, going all the way back to like ancient psychology, right? Back where when Freud, you know, created all his theories and thoughts around psychoanalysis, and that was cool. I think that got us somewhere, but it only took us so far, right? And really Stan and a few other groups of people quickly realized that Freud's way of looking at humanity was pretty narrow. There was a lot of mythologizing, and it really didn't leave room for the human spirit, the part inside of us that is really seeking the truth of who we are in this lifetime, in any given lifetime. Um, the part of us that is, yeah, a spirit, a soul, a higher consciousness, a way to go beyond that. We're not just a set of symptoms walking around, right? Like, I think it's safe to say in 2024, like all of us are like way beyond that, right? There's so much more to the human experience. And I think it's so incredible to really honor and acknowledge Stan Grof's bravery to like stand up and be like, nah, this ain't the trajectory of what I want to see for the future. And I think here we are, especially in this new, well, it's not really new, but the next wave of psychedelic work, plant medicine work. We're all trying to figure it out, trying not to make the same mistakes we made back then, yada, yada, yada. Um, I could definitely go on a tangent on that, so I'm not going to. So basically, him and this group of people, after humanistic psychology really came together and created this more in-depth perspective of the human lifespan, the human spirit, he created transpersonal psychology. And what a breath of fresh air, right? Really including the spirit of somebody, the essence of somebody, going way beyond, like I said, a set of symptoms and just, getting someone to behave in a different way. Um, so his work, later on, he's a psychiatrist, by the way, traditionally trained. He started doing these studies on LSD in the 60s when LSD was legal, and incredible things came out of those studies, right? People were having incredible breakthroughs, just amazing, right? And then it became illegal. So him and his wife, the late Christina Grof, decided, what are we going to do? Like how are we going to create a non-ordinary state, an expanded state of consciousness, essentially offering people a catalyst in which they can access that's legal, because that was the thing, like, what are we gonna do? And he did it. Christine and him totally created this framework, this philosophy called holotropic breathwork. So holotropic breathwork is an entire theory. That's why I say go get the book, because I don't have enough time to tell you all about it, but it goes over, what happens when we're in the womb, what happens as we travel down the birth canal, like a lot of these experiences that leave imprints on our memory networks and our nervous system and can truly affect the way we show up in the world. I've experienced this in my own inner work. I've had to go in. I had an ayahuasca experience where I relived my birth. And to be honest, when it happened back in like 2017, 2018, we didn't really have a lot of frameworks for like what the beep just happened. I just knew what I experienced. And once I stumbled upon Stan Grof's work, I was like, wow, WOW, wow. Just like he had it all mapped out like way before, you know, and he talks about set and setting and the music and the entire model is absolutely incredible. So this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about these transpersonal breathwork experiences that are often created um, through listening to a certain type of music. So the music in the holotropic breathwork model is very active, tribal sound, shamanic sounds. It gets like, it's definitely like at the rate of a heartbeat. It's loud, very loud. Um, and it's oftentimes no recognizable lyrics. So because if there's English lyrics, it has the lyrics are in the person's like language, it can pull them out of the experience because it brings that prefrontal cortex back online and then people are back into thinking, where this is really an experience of like full letting go, full somatic process, um, releases, catharsis. It doesn't always have to be that way, but it's definitely somatic focus, meaning focusing on the body rather than the mind. Um, and so there's like these elements of the music, the setting, breathing, and how they all come together to create this expanded state of consciousness. And this is very similar to anyone who's practicing with psychedelics or plant medicines or any type of catalyst. But a lot of you guys that listen or here on the YouTube, a lot of you are either on a psychedelic or plant medicine a plant medicine path. You kind of get it, right? And it's really interesting. I feel like his model of breath work, I feel so aligned with because I originally came to truth seeking number one through EMDR, which is so cool because he does mention EMDR as an integration modality in his book. And he said that like years ago, right? So it's too bad Francine Shapiro, the creator of EMDR, isn't around anymore because it would just be too cool to see both of them talk and just like, you know, talk about transpersonal experiences. So sidebar, EMDR is not a non substance, non-ordinary state of consciousness. This is something that helped me in my inner journey. It's something I facilitate now. Anyway, tangent. So basically, these transpersonal experiences like psychedelics and plant medicines, they have these phases of preparation, of setting, of dosage, of integration, and the holotropic framework also offers this. So why would anyone want to do any of this, you know? So basically, we're going to be focusing on today, like why breathwork journeys, like how can it benefit somebody? Um, what are some things that a person should look out for in terms of contraindications, why it wouldn't benefit them? And it's very similar to when we're looking at psychedelics and plant medicines. And this is also why I love his model because they're just so parallel. And I think that has a lot to do with Stan Grof's original work with LSD and his familiarity with the psychedelic landscape with the transpersonal lens, essentially. So I think a good thing to kind of like pause if you're listening, if you're watching, is like, so basically what we're about to get at is intention. So you personally, like, what is it that you're seeking in an expanded state of consciousness? Is it healing? Is it to feel more self love and self compassion for yourself? Maybe you have a harsh inner critic that is always going. Maybe it's to resolve past traumas from your past or your childhood or your family of origin or your lineage. I think there's a lot of different ways that we can say this. Our ancestral trauma, um, which is very real, right? Patterns within our nervous systems are taught to us by our families, by our culture, and then we end up embodying them unconsciously. And I really feel like these practices really bring that material conscious, when we're ready, and done best when we have good preparation. We've really put effort into creating a set, our mindset, our body set, our medical background, mental health background, to create the most safe experience, because I think that's the most important part here. If any of you have listened to any of my YouTubes or podcasts where I talk about how I experienced a traumatizing ayahuasca experience for my first time 3 years ago in the jungles of Peru, that was a result of, I did great preparation, but it was really a result of a terrible setting. It was just very chaotic, which brings me to my next point, right? So making sure the setting feels safe to your nervous system. It's like so important that you feel prepared, that you feel the setting can support your experience. Um, and then the dosage, whether that's the dosage of a psychedelic, a plant medicine, your breath work, the EMDR you're doing, the shamanic drum journeying you're doing, these are all transpersonal tools. These are all catalysts, right, that we all can use to access deeper parts of ourselves. So, more on the why that someone would want to do this is that, um, so all of these experiences give us a chance to see and experience ourselves in a different way that we wouldn't be able to access usually. Not that it's totally impossible, um, in everyday ordinary consciousness. Essentially, what science says is that these practices help us get off of the default mode network and intentionally work with the material that we want to focus on. So that's why intention is so important because whatever you intend to work on within the catalyst, it really drives a lot of where you're going to go in the experience and then some, right? Because sometimes we can set really, really great intentions and then material arises that maybe we think have nothing to do with that intention, but it has everything to do with it, right? But it's really important to be intentional, meaning like I want to work on um, maybe not being such a perfectionist anymore. I learned from this is like an example story. I learned from a young age that I'm not allowed to make mistakes. Maybe one was like made fun of or punished for making mistakes, right? So as a protector part, perfectionism came online and is like running the show now. And if anyone here is a recovering perfectionist or is in the throes of perfectionism, it can be very exhausting. Recovering perfectionist over here, so I'll fully out myself. And so, exploring that in the breath work. And, for example, the result could be like a reclaiming of the true self outside of the perfectionism. I'm allowed to be messy. I'm allowed to take up space in any way I want and just like really feel and experience the self in a completely different way. And so, really through breath work in particular, these online breathwork journeys that I facilitate, people have a chance to go inward and work with their intention in a very radically self-empowered way. And so what that means is that the space is just held for you while you go in with your intention and what you deeply want to work on. No one's telling you what to do. No one's like, okay, now do this. It's like really through your inner guiding intelligence, which is a word from Stan Grof, through the power of the music and the breath work, all of those come together to create an expanded state of consciousness where you can really work with whatever material you want. And whether that's through shaking, dancing, crying, getting angry, um, feeling resistant. I mean, that's a part of it too. It's not like every experience is a breakthrough, by the way. Like sometimes, and every journey is different, just like every psychedelic and plant medicine journey is different. And it's all for teaching purposes, for us to gather more data on the inner landscape, the different parts of us, our nervous system, our memory networks, and how can we continue to evolve and grow and expand, into our truest potential, remembering who we really are underneath all these types of programming. So, these online breathwork experiences, they're really rooted in the philosophy of Stan Grof's work. Although you can't call anything holotropic breathwork unless you're doing it within, holotropic breathwork has certain parts that have to be met. Number one, you need to be a certified holotropic breathwork facilitator. Number two, it always has to be done in person. There's a sitter breather model where each breather gets a sitter, and each person, one person breathes for 3 hours, which, if maybe you guessed it, but you will reach an expanded state in breathwork at 3 hours. Like, it's just impossible not to. You can also reach it within, 40 minutes in the online version, but it's pretty incredible. And then you switch, and you get to breathe twice and you get to sit twice. And um, for any of you that are looking to learn how to hold space for people in expanded states of consciousness, I cannot recommend the holotropic breathwork facilitator training. It's just incredible. You'll never learn like as much as you learn in this program. I've done tons of trainings on transpersonal experiences. This is the bee's knees. Um, and it's not new. I think that's the other thing I see a lot in the breathwork community. Everyone's coming out with a breathwork certification program. I've done a lot of breathwork certification programs. There's nothing like the gold standard, so to speak. Just my opinion, but it's incredible. So In the online version, we essentially shorten that. It's about a 40-minute experience. So you could consider it a microdose, essentially, if we're going to put it in that framework. And it's really a practice that you can engage in from the comfort of your own home. So it's very accessible. Um, and there's community, right? So all of us come online, we check in, we set intentions together. You share a little bit about yourself. We meditate, we do a body scan, lots of relaxation before we go in to ground and center, and then we go on the journey. And so we do give a simple instruction for the active breath. So we're breathing in and out through the mouth to begin with, faster and deeper, deeper and faster. But as I tell my participants, and even in my own breathwork experiences, is that um, eventually you just let the inner guiding intelligence take over. So this is really different from other breathwork modalities or frameworks, is like it's a very specific modality. You have to, well, I don't want to say you have to, but the encouragement is to stick with it throughout the entire duration. Where in these types of journeys, it's like if you start wanting to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, say you want to start playing with breath retentions, say you slow down your breath at some point. Um, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you're accessing your inner guiding intelligence in the way that it's showing you. It's really a experience to learn how to trust yourself deeply, very, very deeply. It's an inward journey. Um, and of course, with that can come a lot of feelings, emotions, sensations, shaking, crying, the full spectrum of emotions. Memories can come up, all these different things, right? Um, and so I think that that makes me want to come to like these experiences, they do have contraindications. Like, so for example, individuals who have heart issues or breathing issues, other types of medical issues. This is why I do a pre-screening process to make sure you're totally safe to do the breathwork process. Um, it doesn't completely rule you out at first, but it's just important to either check with your doctor or check with your therapist to make sure like you're ready for this experience and that it's safe for you, right? Because that's the most important part, right? Is that you feel fully safe. There's like some mental health things to check out before just going to this experience. And this is all just to make sure you feel grounded enough, centered enough to expand, right? To expand into another state of consciousness. Um, so it's really, really incredible. Of all the things that I personally have experienced, studied, and witnessed, breathwork yields some of the best results I've ever seen, especially within this framework, within Stan Grof's framework. And um, there's tons of research, by the way. You can Google PDF clinical trials on the holotropic framework, on music therapy. A lot of the holotropic model and how it sees music has been highly researched. We're not in an age of like we're guessing and crossing our fingers. We have arrived. Like we know these things. Although I will say it is not for everyone, and that's okay. I am saying though that it's I think at one point we were all kind of at a place where we're like, where's the proof? Like, how do you really know this is gonna help somebody? And it really can. Um, so how, that was my goal for today. What and why and how. So what is it? Why does it help? And what are some of the ways that it can be contraindicated? And how does it help? Okay. Um, and it's really through this model of the breathing, the music, because the music plays a huge role. It takes you into this transpersonal experience, and with your inner guiding intelligence, you go deep within as you set your intention, as you work with your inner guiding intelligence, and you go through this 40-minute, it's really an hour long journey, but we do like a 10-minute like meditative intro, The playlist of the active breathing and then the integration music is about 40 minutes. And then we have a slow come down that's about 10 minutes. So it's about an hour. Um, in total, the entire experience is 2 hours because we do a check in, then the journey, and then we have the integration sharing circle afterwards. Um, and I think this is another part of it too, is like being in community, being with other people who are doing the same inner work as you is like really important. People who are looking to evolve themselves, to grow themselves, to do the shadow work, to reach for their highest potential, for their biggest dreams. And we need skills and tools to work with the stressors of life, to work with an expanded state of consciousness, right? And so I really feel like these online breathwork journeys really give access to that in such a beautiful and profound way. And we just had a breathwork journey. We do it 2 times a month. So every first and fourth Monday of the month from 5 to 7 PST. And, in our last breathwork journey, there was people who discovered self-love for the first time and were fully convicted in it. Think about that. Someone living their entire lives without really feeling self-love, and they were able to do that for themselves. I didn't do anything. I just like showed up, I held the space, I played music, and they went in and like touched it. That's the radical self-empowerment. Someone else is, there's actually a few people working with their inner child, memories from the past, people pleasing behaviors were brought up, um, some other things. And really being able to deeply work with these energies, with these memories, and to piece them apart. And so I can actually begin to see who I really am outside of the imprints of my past, of my family, of my culture, of my society. And I get to take the things that I really desire, who are really me, and separate like what are old patterns that are just, they helped me survive, but they're simply no longer working for me anymore. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? With anything, whatever it is, like therapy, coaching, psychedelic and plant medicine work, transpersonal work, it's all about all of us wanting just to remember who we really are. And it's really incredible when you can come into community, see people consistently. I really believe in the power of community. I don't know what I would personally do without my mentors and the communities that I engage in, because I have other humans mirroring that it's okay that I don't have everything figured out. It's okay that I'm working with these really dense energies of trauma, of figuring out who I really am, and of also reaching my highest potential and going after my dreams and what I really am here to do in this lifetime, right? Um, and I think this has been shown in so many different ways. I mean, it's ancient, right? Western mentality kind of has it backwards, right? I don't know. Hopefully we're figuring it out. But doing this work in community, in tribes, essentially, that's what I meant by like ancient practices, like doing it in tribes. And it's like really, really healthy and helpful to just have that mirror, right? To have like, yeah, I totally get it. And like, good for you, way to go. And like, um, just feel uplifted in this, and by the way, I think I'm being a little, focusing a little bit too much on the shadow work. I mean, someone else in our last breathwork journey was like, I felt bliss the entire time. I felt incredible. And, you know, it's also important to reach and feel that what we call the counter vortex and somatic experiencing. Feeling the pleasure, feeling the joy in life, feeling safe to feel the pleasure and joy. Um, so all these beautiful things. So, like I said, we breathe every first and fourth Monday of the month, um, from 5 to 7 PST, and that's on Zoom. And it's like I said, we do like a check-in, we share our intentions, we have the journey, and then we have a sharing circle afterwards. No one's ever forced to share. That's totally optional, although it is highly encouraged because it's a great opportunity to be seen and heard and welcomed and feel like you belong. I think a lot of us are just wanting to feel a part of something. And that's such a core human need for all of us. And like I said, I don't know what I would do without my communities and my mentors. So, so important. So, I'll leave the link below if you're interested to pre-register for that. I'm working on a lot of technology and a lot of back-end stuff right now. I just launched a new website and it's like a whole thing. So right now the protocol is that you pre-register and then I'll reach out to you to complete the preparation protocol. So the preparation protocol is a one-time experience. So you watch the preparation video, that's about 20 minutes. You sign the informed consent, make sure there's no contraindications, and then you meet with me for about a 10 to 15-minute phone call just to make sure you don't have any questions. We go over to make sure you got both of those things done, make sure you feel comfortable, and like I said, just to, for us to meet and connect a little bit. And then you have full access to our entire breathwork community. So, the other thing that I have added recently, because I've realized with a lot of expanded work, there needs to be coming back into groundedness and centeredness. It's like what we call integration, right? So, we just added a yin restorative breathwork journey as well. So, I don't have the final details on that. Just launched it, but that's a way to balance out some of the breathwork journeys you're doing. And that really focuses on cultivating mindfulness, somatic awareness, stillness, slowness. We do some binaural beats. We do some affirmation work in there, very light affirmation work. And it's really just to bring in more of the restorative energy back into the nervous system. Um, because these online breathwork journeys is very yang energy. Can be very releasing. We're going deep inside, and so we need something to balance that out. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Um, so this, I hope you enjoyed this podcast and this YouTube video. I hope it kind of gave you some history of these breathwork journeys and uh, kind of getting excited about Stan Grof's work. Like I said, I'll leave the link for his book below. And please reach out with any questions that you have. If you want to, do maybe you don't want to do a breath like a group experience, maybe you want to do a one-on-one experience, you feel more comfortable with that, just reach out to me. I do lots of different things, a lot of therapy, coaching, all sorts of things. I'm basically a truth seeker. I love transpersonal work. So I'll leave the link to, where you can find out more about my work as well if you're interested in that. Um, so thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.